think where we left off is how going into the deployment, they were starting to say, wives, you stay home because, you're wives. Women stay home. That's what it felt like to me. Like, women stay home. And again, the whole thing, a lot of us in the unit, the rest of us went, how does this make any sense? So if their husband wasn't in the unit, they were going, but if he is...
But if they is...
Yeah.
That's redneck 101.
Just those two couples. Like, just those two.
I thought there was other married couples in the unit.
After.
Yeah.
So after we got deployed, or right before we would leave, they ended up getting married or got married while they were on leave, things like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So we were only the OG.
But then you did get to go.
Yes.
So there was a turn, like what happened that turned it around? Did you fight for it? Did you like put up your dukes like, Or did somebody just change their mind?
No.
Did you get divorced for the deployment?
She's like, give me the juice.
What happened?
We're on our second marriage. Detail.
Come on, she's got pillow fluff.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, so I don't know the exact of how it ended up being it, but they were going to let the other female go. I think because a lot of it was that it's like, it doesn't make sense that you were going to make her go to Florida.
Okay.
And she basically said, like, you're going to cost me money and I have to be away from my kids. Like, financially, I'd have to rent an apartment and all this stuff. And so they were finally like, because the other female we were all like, oh my gosh, we don't want her at all, was no longer part of our unit. Like, she ended up not being with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So now there's not a conflict.
So there wasn't
anymore.
a confrontation, so they ended up letting her go, but then I worked at the unit already.
Yeah.
They were really relying on me working at the unit still.
While they were going to be gone.
So I found that out, and I was like,
That's not really fair.
I don't really like that. So I had a little argument.
Okay. You stood up for yourself.
I did. So I was like, this isn't what I want to do.
Who'd you chew?
Huh?
Who'd you chew?
No, I'm not going to say names. But it wasn't a bad thing. Like, it was kind of like, I had a rapport enough to sit there and be like, what the?
Yeah.
Phil Form frackety frack.
A deadline.
Right, like, it's like, and then I'm like, I'm out, I'm going back home. Just because this happened in Camp Landing, and then things changed.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I don't know the logistics of it. I'm sure there was other stuff going on in the background, but it was just kind of like I gave my voice of like, this is crappy. I'm sure that wasn't what made the decision. I'm sure there was more fights going on because we were like, I'm not bragging on myself. I do a really good job at being told what to do. Like I don't break the rules. I don't jaywalk. It's you guys know this. Like I'm like I am not going. It does not say like. So I'm a good soldier. I was good at my job. I did well with that. So it's like I'm sure there was other fights going on to ensure that we could continue on. So that happened to where we were able to sit there and go. And they needed people. People were dropping out. People were getting hurt. People were just not showing up.
I was there.
Yeah, so you have all that. So it's like, I'm an able-bodied person. Like, let's go.
Send me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where that kind of led up to where it was. So we were in Wisconsin. I was still not being deployed in Wisconsin.
Right, I remember that.
So, which was kind of funny because I kind of got out of the trainings, but I did the trainings, but then I didn't end up having to go back to do the trainings when I was able to be deployed because I was just like, yeah, I did the trainings. And they're like, we need you. I'm like, la la la. So,
Was
but
it
then,
like a weekend, right? Weekend to...
So there was one week, there was the Thanksgiving week. That was the week I was told you can deploy. And that's was going into Jersey 1 week later.
Okay.
So our whole plan of what we were going to do, it was, I was going to end our lease, which didn't happen until February. So I was going to stay at our apartment for a couple of months and then move in with my dad to save up for a house. And I had 1 week to change all of our plans.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's not a lot of time.
Everything happened within that week, and that's when we were being deployed to Jersey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly one of the worst places on earth.
Yeah.
Send people.
I'll tell you what, Wisconsin, they had their stuff locked. Like, that was such good training. I have such great memories
That
there.
lane training was
So good.
Outstanding.
So, like, I could sit there, I'm just like, that was wonderful. That was a lovely time. Like, some
Was
of my
that the
favorite
one-
memories happened there.
Was Wisconsin where they had the small town that we rolled through, with the
No.
No, that was
explosions and all that?
Jersey.
That was actually really good too.
Yeah, that was Jersey.
So that was one where we're rolling through and we're shooting, and I'm telling, hey, go this way, you over here. All of a sudden, I look down and there's a dude laying next to me with bloody nubs for legs. Like his legs were blown off. I'm like, these guys are good.
Wait, it's not the one that they did in California, was it?
Was it in Cali?
They did one in California where it was a big deal. Like they had.
I mean, those explosions, those everything.
Yeah, no. Not everybody did that one in California.
Oh, so they had a dude who was a
Like
double
an
amputee.
amputee?
Yeah, who they just
Yeah.
toss him in. Like, I'm not saying just because he got no,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he just ended up there, and you're like,
They had like
How the
RPGs
heck
on
did that
strings
happen?
and stuff like that. Like they set up a production. Like they actually had a special effects crew come in and set this stuff up. I actually saw a thing about this on TV. Like they were talking about this, about how they were doing this training and how like they put so much. They were like, all the special effects they do in movies and stuff like that. Can we incorporate this into the training? And actually had a production company come in and help set this up.
Like
And
to
so-
blow things up and like.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
because you're basically going through like two.
That's
tours.
cool.
Yeah, no. We, like the only people that did it, I think there was, which if you got to go, I
I was
don't.
leading the squad, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, because there's a couple of places we went that had like little towns.
But they,
right.
but they had. It was mainly for the medics to go through that. They sent all the medics through that because they could react to casualties and stuff like that out in California.
I just remember like
That's
because
really-
we had to do an AAR afterwards,
Right.
and I mean I was still freaked out. Like, okay, so no one tells you that this is going to happen. No one tells you, hey, we're going to do it. His legs blowing off. I mean, he was laying like 5 feet from me. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Part of me wants to laugh because I'm like, these guys, y'all
Y'all are good.
all right, I played it out. Okay, got the medic over there. We're doing the after action review, and the guy pulls up in his wheelchair. Now he's got a regular pair of pants on, and he's not like all bloodied up and everything. And I'm just sitting there like, all right, 3 goods, 3 bads. I'm like, good. That guy's a good actor.
Great
I don't know how you were able to pull off like I don't got legs or whatever. They were like, Walter, you're not supposed to say that. And this guy he's laughing like crazy. He says,
Oh my god.
so he goes, there's always one guy at least willing to make some humor about this.
Right.
And I appreciate it every time. I'm like,
Wow.
dude, it was awesome. I said, but in a positive, not just trying to laugh about it. Like, you really are a good actor because you played this thing out. And for a guy who, this is what you went through to lose your legs, for you to just go through this over and over
Right.
again. How do you do it? And he's like, I'm not even going to go there. I'm like, okay, no. Because I don't understand. Like, that's a traumatic time. If there ever was a traumatic time, that's a traumatic time for a human being.
Maybe it helps us healing, kind of like
Yeah.
going through it and understanding it and, I don't know, facing it head on. Because I know sometimes I'm like, yeah, we're just going to put that in a box and figure it deep down inside. Not let that one back.
Never open it again.
That's going
Right.
to stay there. So,
When a New York Italian chick has a redneck
Yeah.
accent, that's awesome.
I was raised in the South. But, yeah, no, maybe that's like a healing process of like facing it head on and
Yeah.
immersing himself into it.
I'm sure he also gets something out of being able to help the next group over there. And,
Yeah.
because he did say, look, yeah, I lost my legs, but the people who got the tourniquets on there saved my life.
That's
It
true.
makes sense. I mean, obviously, but like, I am like, wow. I mean, between that and the Iraqi chick that I shot with a blank round, they had all these Iraqis there that would help us go through training too. And, remember, so I'm that guy, and she'll tell you, whether if we're watching something to do with cybersecurity on TV or war, I'm likely to
Didn't
ruin
happen.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that drives me nuts more than anything else is when a few people go barging into a room. Clear! Like, clear! You didn't clear anything! Did you look behind the couch? Did you look in the closet? Did you look over there? Please God, tell me to look behind the desk. Because in one of those little towns, you're talking about, everybody's yelling clear, and I go to yell clear, and all of a sudden this person pops up from behind the desk, and I pop! And there's this Iraqi woman doing like this, I'm like, This is why we train, right? This is why we train. Oopsie! Can we reset? Can she just respawn over here like we're doing video games or something?
What's the movie Basic?
Yeah.
And they're like,
Please.
yes, Sergeant! And he's wearing like an E4 rank or something like that. And he's got like
Yeah.
his cape on or whatever.
Yeah.
He's always walking with the cape. And I'm like, you don't mess with Samuel L. Jackson, apparently.
Oh my gosh, that movie.
Yeah.
Rank was not something they studied on that one.
Yeah. That's funny.
I think someone had a captain rank and they called him a sergeant. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, those are fun.
Outstanding. So, we went through some really cool training leading up to it. So, we fly out. Was there mid-January when we flew out?
Sure.
Sometimes I feel like I'm interviewing myself twice.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, yeah.
You're here. I'm like, we've only gotten this far.
Yeah, I guess we really did. I thought we got a lot further through the notes here. But, whatever. We're just having a conversation. Right?
Yeah.
So we fly out. We get there. Was there anything that was...
Where's there?
We got to Kuwait first. We flew into Kuwait International Airport, which... Well, I tell you, if you'll watch the first couple, or at least the first episode of the one where she interviewed me, Kuwait International Airport holds a special place in my heart now.
I know that.
The story.
Kind
The
of.
grenade story.
Yeah, I think so. I
Oh,
remember
God.
having.
The 810th MP Company. God bless you guys. So when we got to Kuwait, I mean, you guys obviously were separating your platoons and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got to Iraq, was there like a married student housing kind of thing, or married soldier housing kind of?
No. First, we're by platoon, so whoever you were bunked with. So, like, I had another sergeant from our platoon that was my bunkmate. Yeah.
So you're on a two-person choose at the
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of us. There were people that had more people.
Right. There was a
in-
bigger
Yeah.
room with 4 people.
Right.
And they always put like E4s in that.
Yeah.
More E4s in one spot is worse than
Right,
less.
Right.
You just need to worry about that.
I would have. Well, I can't even say that. I was going to say I would have thought that they would maybe. I don't know.
I stayed with she was a private.
And you were an E5.
What happened was no. So
That's going to be the name of this episode.
yeah. So each female was supposed to have kind of like their own battle buddy because there wasn't a lot of us. So on top of that, in the beginning of our deployment, there was only 3 female sergeants that were went out on missions. So, there were other female sergeants, but they weren't either not on missions or their job wasn't MP. So the ones who were MP missions, there was 1 in first platoon, 1 second, 1 third. So my battle buddy, she ended up not deploying, and then it didn't replace her.
Oh.
So I was the only female in my squad. So I ended up being put into another room with a private because they're like, we don't have anywhere else, and she's all like, this is where it's sergeant. She's in her oh, and I'm like, it's okay, chill out. But it's funny. She ended up giving me a book to read because I was like, oh, I heard this book was a really good book. She's like, oh, I haven't. She let me read it, and then she's like, put the book down, sergeant, and go to sleep. I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's telling me what to do after so long. But because at first she's all like, oh no, because I'm like, this is our living quarters. It's fine. Just chill out. We're fine. So
you just now to parade rest whenever you came walking in.
Yeah, no, but at first she was very much I'm like that's not me at all. We're friends now. We're good. So at the first couple of days, but within a couple of days, she's like, put the book down, go to sleep. I'm like, okay. So tell me what to do, Mom. So it was fine. But then they ended up it's commander discretion. So if the commander wanted you to be a married couple and be able to stay in the same room, you could. So not all couples who were in any sort of unit together, and I don't quote me on this, but I believe in active duty. I don't believe they're allowed to be for some reason. Maybe maybe their commander discretion, but for reserves it was commander discretion. Our commander was fine with it, so they ended up working it out to where I think that's why they put me with her, because they knew that they were going to replace me with a different person who was in a different platoon anyways. So that's why it was like, well, we're not going to put her in with the sergeant because certain sergeants had their own rooms anyways, like staff sergeants and above or whatever. And at least female-wise, because there wasn't a lot of us. So they were like, well, we're not going to, we know that we're going to replace her with this other, because they ended up taking a different platoon from a different company and making it our 4th platoon, but we didn't really work with them that much. So they took the female from her to stay with this girl, and then we ended up being able to stay in our choose at the same time, the 2 married couples.
Yeah.
That worked out.
Yeah.
Beginning, yeah.
Yeah. And then
it didn't.
Well,
No, I ended up going to several 2 different outposts. So I stayed the first outpost. The cops will refer to the cop. First one and the second one. The second one was a larger one. There's about 180 people at that one, and the 2 couples that ended up having to go there was the male of the original married couple and me. And then anyone else who got married
Not
during
together.
the time.
They were just
not
both-
together.
both
No,
there.
like we were the only, like we got sent to the outpost, but any other couples who were married after the fact got to stay together in their choose
Yeah.
on the actual main base at the fob.
Yeah.
So we were the ones sent to the outpost. So we were the ones that were separated. Were the original married couples.
Interesting.
So that
Yeah.
was funny. Like we got to come back. Like we would come back and forth and get medical stuff or get our vehicle service and things like that. So we would have to come back and forth. But I was like, him and I would look at each other like, how'd this work out? The OG ones, we were the ones that got separated, but all the ones that got married in between or got to stay together. And I'm like, interesting. But we didn't take that as we're like, hey, that's awesome if it happened. Awesome if it doesn't. Either way, if we get to stay together, even better if we don't. That's fine. Like we're not fighting for this.
Yeah, not that I had any say on it at all, but that I did. I got pulled into a room and asked what I thought, like what, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what? I was like, either do it or don't. I was like, it's not. I was like, I don't have to sleep in the same room as her. Like, I was like, that's not what we're here for. I was like, if you're gonna do it, that's fine. But because there's also the issue of people going on leave,
Coming by pregnant?
come back married.
Even different.
But I also think that was part of it. Was like, is she
Right.
gonna get pregnant during
Right.
deployment?
Right.
And so it was just some of that stuff. It was just like, okay, I said either do it, like if you're worried about it, I was like, do it for everybody or don't do it for any of us. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, that's the purpose of this is not for me to, have a room with my wife. This is like if you guys are going to do it. But then she left and I had the room to myself anyway. She was constant. Like she wasn't at the base. So I was.
And he was cool with that too.
Yeah, he was like,
I never had nobody else in there.
So go fine. I'll have people over and party at our house while
Right,
you're going
yeah.
out.
Never happened. Never happened.
That's funny.
Oh man. So when you guys were not split up or anything, what was and for each of you, what was the feeling like when you knew one or the other was out on a mission?
Yeah, like I said, we've discussed that. Never, we were there to do a job, and we kept it so separate that where there wasn't really anything that made us like not overly. We were confident in both of our abilities to do stuff, so it was like that confidence just didn't have us be fearful for anything. It wasn't. If anything, I would say I 100% say I probably overreact stuff to more than what she does. So I remember there being things that happened and hearing like about a cop being attacked, not hers, but a different cop being attacked, and knowing that she was out on a cop and how it happened. I was very angry that day. So I was like, this could have been her type of mentality. And like, it seemed like every Iraqi police that I dealt with that day just got yelled at. Like, nope, do your job. Like why are you doing that? You should be doing this. Like, why aren't you searching the people that are coming in? What's like, where this is what's supposed to be happening. I don't care if you think you know this guy. He's just walking up in a white t-shirt, and that's how they would show up. It was like, he's got a bag. What does he have in that bag? Why are you not looking? I don't care if you know him. I don't. And so just having, an interpreter try to relay, be like, no, you're not yelling loud enough. Like, I want them to understand. I want them to understand that I'm angry.
You're not angry enough.
You're talking, that's fine, but listen to me yelling and make it sound that way. And he'd be like, oh, okay. And then he would do it. And so I had stuff like that I dealt with, but that was just me being, a person that overreacts to stuff sometimes.
I mean, would you consider it to be overreacting? I mean,
No.
it's just...
Well, like I can almost guarantee, if I told her and she knew that happened during that time, she'd be like, "Stop being stupid."
Very upset.
Like, why were you doing
But
that?
the reason
Right,
why is
but-
because it separates me as not
Right.
being a soldier. It puts me
Right.
into the wife role again, which I am. And I
Yeah.
think people have a hard time understanding, like, but you are a wife. But it's like at that time, we had to put ourselves into a little box. We are soldiers first. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is our job. And knowing that he's acting this way because his wife is here, it's like no one else's wife is here. Like, you should be so lucky, but also not lucky because your wife might get blown up, like, at that time. So it's like pros and cons on both sides. So I didn't want to be separate because I think because of the thing of being like, well, you're not going to be going, so I was already so like standing out so much to begin with.
Right.
Being the only female in my squad, I'm separate to begin with, and it's like I was already like this, like, spotlight was on me at some point or another, and so I'm just like, let me just do my job, and you do your job, I'll do my job, and we do our job. And but at the same time, that's how I think. Is I'm like, well, right now my mode is we're army mode. So you do your job, I do my job. We are fine. We've got training. We're good to go. Like,
So you never had any angst on him going on a mission of any...
no. So I've said this so many times. I talked about earlier how I had these feelings like I have to join the army, and I didn't know why. I cannot explain it to you. This is a God thing, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that we were good. I cannot explain it to you. Maybe to the point where I'm like, that was shady what you did, because you could have got hurt. Like, afterwards, you're like, that was a shady situation you did, or something that you did that was kind of, but I'm like, I'm not dying here. Like, I remember even saying it to people. People were like, oh, did you get a pucker factor with that? I'm like, I'm not dying here. What are you talking about? Like, I'm fine.
You should be like, chicks don't get pucker factors.
But it's just more, I was just, people would ask, and I'm like, no, we're good, we're fine. There's been some times where it's more of like something had happened where I was like, oh, there was what we thought was mortar, but it ended up being a very large V-bed right outside of the base, like several thousands of pounds. And so it shook everything. So what I thought by the time I got, so I witnessed a shooting a couple of years back, and not like a person getting shot, but like I saw people shooting, and I'm like, oh no, I should call the police. But I realized, I was like, wow, I had so many thoughts go through my head in such a short time that I didn't realize it felt so slow. So by the time with this V-bed had hit, what we had thought was mortar, we were being like hit, it was time I got from my bed to the door. I was like, your friends are all over the place. Get in the mode. Like, that thought was in my head as I was like, and I remember just looking out and just being like, everything's still here. Like, yeah. But I remember seeing everyone running, and I remember seeing someone running with their green socks on because they had their PT shorts on, and they were running to one bunker, and I was running to another bunker, and I was like, we're fine. We're good. But then it was like, after that, I was like, we're good. And I cannot give you the explanation to this day where I'm like, oh, you're going on mission? And his squad ended up getting hit on a mission. And I was like, I was at an outpost, and one of my friends came up to me and he was running the talk, and he's like, hey, second platoon was one got hit. And I was like, yeah, they already knew that. I was like, they knew it was going to happen. Like, I was so chill about it. And I was like, yeah, they kind of was like, yeah, this is probably going to happen tomorrow. And I was like, I should probably go check on him. I was like, sorry, like, walked up to the talk. I'm like, they're good. Like, listening to the talk, like, they're good. I was like, okay, we're fine. I was like, we're good. So, like I said, it was a definiteness like that I had before. It was, we are fine. We are all coming home. And I was telling him earlier, I was like, you know what I didn't have a definiteness of? Is that we were all coming home in one piece. I was like, I really thought about that later, but thankfully, that all happened just fine. I was like, but that wasn't in my head. I was like, that really could have went sideways.
Yeah. Dude with no legs.
Right. I don't remember hearing that your squad got hit or whatever. So what?
It's like a platoon got it.
What?
Couple of
times.
Yeah.
The second platoon got 3 times.
Where were you, or like what happened, or like?
Ours was.
They did like a super squad that day because you guys were going somewhere.
There was actually some like radio guy that needed to go out and get a piece of equipment and to help set up at a cop, and so we had like 2 little.
Was it for me?
we came to we popped afterwards.
That wasn't that day.
That wasn't the.
Mm-mm. Our cop was already set
Oh
up then.
no, okay, that's
you
right.
guys had to go to
That's right.
like some main
Yeah.
IP place, and they made a super squad, and they're like, hey, because we know
Yeah.
all these people are going to be there, because it was like some big meeting going on. They already know and having like threats.
I'm trying to think because there was two different things that were like as the main things that happened because it was we had done that one. We were driving someplace that we normally didn't drive through, and it was just one of our vehicles got hit with was either the vehicle in front of me or I think it was just the vehicle in front of me. I can't remember which one it was. It was like a 2-pound.
It's a little baby.
Little baby. 2-pound grenade got thrown at, like bombed.
The RKG-3?
No. It was just like more of like a homemade type device, something like a couple 2-pound. There was a guy on I believe what we ended up seeing was a guy on a moped came driving by and he chucked it, and then as he drove off, then it went off and it. Like nice little fireball. Like I remember seeing the fireball from it and stuff like that. But it was not.
Did you shoot that moped guy?
That guy was gone by the time that it happened. Oh. I know they said where did it come from? There were people that actually started saying that it was the guy standing alongside the road that they thought, and then the person that got the vehicle that got hit. I think their guy dropped down out of the gun before he got back up. And then, but like I said, we essentially didn't even stop moving. We continued to roll through that because it was nothing took the vehicle down. So we continued to move. Yeah.
Like don't stop because
right.
that's bad.
If there was, it was very, very shortly. The only thing that actually like major damage to vehicles or anything like that were the doors got blown open on the side of not the main doors, but the like storage doors got blown open on the side of the MRAP. And then we had another one where there was a V-bid that actually, so it was kind of the same thing. I think what we're referring to was sometimes we would get extra people attached to us and we would end up doing a little bit of a bigger squad, go different locations. So instead of like 4 vehicles, we'd have 6 or 7 vehicles or whatever. We'd go out as a bigger squad and go to a different location than what we normally went to or whatever it may be. As we were doing that morning, we had actually gotten that night prior to, and then the morning, we were getting intel that the plan is that when our squad or the one squad would go into the one station that was closest to the river, I can't remember which one it was, but they'd go in close to the river. As they would go in, they were going to pull a V-bid up behind them and wait for them to come back out. And as if they were able to detonate on the vehicles coming back out, when they sent out the helicopters, there was going to be somebody there to shoot down the helicopters. They had all this intel telling us about it, and I remember talking to them, going like, "This is a lot of intel. Like you guys, like you know their game plan, like for this, what it is."
Did they put it on the training video for CNN?
Right. So I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "So should we maybe change our plan a little bit?
Right?
Like anything? I'm not saying not go.
Like how did they
But
know your plan?
Let's change the idea of what we're doing."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, we're going. And I said, okay. And I remember going at some people and like, all right, you riding with us? And they were like, no. And I was like, all right. And I went, and I said, okay. I said, you're in vehicle 2. And I walked over and wrote their name down on the list. And then they were like, well, I'm not in my gear. And I was like, go get your gear. Go do it. I was like, yeah, sure. You're coming with us. It's like, you're telling all this stuff's going to happen? You might as well be here. Let's go.
We want to see if you're right.
Yeah. And it was.
My bingo card.
It wasn't nowhere near as bad as like our people saw it coming in. They saw the vehicle pull up. They saw that happen enough to where while they were at their station, they sent the Iraqis to be like, hey, go check out this vehicle. And when they did, there was a couple 100 pounds of explosives in the back seat.
Is that the one you guys have a video that you put up?
Yeah. And then as that happened, and we were all cordoned off the area and just waited. And then they end up having the Iraqi army come in and detonate the car. And we were all just kind of sitting there pulling security and watched that happen. So we have a video of that someplace. But
So I don't know if you have it further down in your notes because I haven't read them.
Yeah.
But did you have or do you have like bad dreams about stuff like that, or like did it affect you? Do you have PTSD? Do you have like you just don't even care about none of it? Like, you don't ever think about it, or
so I say this, and I literally just brought something up about this because more than anything, like I start to feel silly about stuff for what it is. That's the best way I can say it. Is that driving? Like if I'll see a piece of trash or something, and I'll be like, that feels weird. Like that feels weird.
Like don't drive over.
Don't drive over.
He does the same.
I think that's like a training on top of all that. So what's funny is they told you in training every piece of trash is a bomb.
Right.
Like they're gonna blow you up. That's a piece of trash.
All of Iraq was
so
trash.
We get into Missoula and they're like,
it could be your DD-214 right out there.
It's the
still.
second. It's like the second largest city, and it's trash everywhere. And I'm like, so the entire city is a bomb.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing told.
Are you talking Mosul?
Yeah.
So the whole place looked like it was blown up yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So.
But there's trash everywhere, and I'm like, so every training, just throw it out the door.
Yeah.
But so like you were saying, like I'm like, I had a good deployment. Everything happened either right before we got there. It was supposed to happen, but we ended up not going. Ended up happening after we left. Like all this stuff. It was like I said, I was good. Like I was like, she seems like really confident in this. I'm gonna like go with that. So we're good. But it was more recently where I was like, I drove over something, and I was like, what? I was like, what was that? I was like, that was weird. But then there was like this other thing. It was set up super weird. I'm like, I don't like this. It feels very out of place. It feels out of character. This is like another thing. Something was cordoned off at a road, and but there's no workers there. And I'm like, it looks like you're forcing me somewhere. And I'm like, I don't like this.
You're funneling me.
Right.
I mean,
we've had this.
We thought someone was. Yeah.
We were driving, and we were going, oh, okay, and we were both,
simultaneously felt like something was happening, and we were both, but like not saying it to each other. Then all of a sudden we look at each other like, this feels wrong. Like, so it's just
practicing some of our amendments, and we were like, oh, okay, cool. We can roll
silly.
through.
And you're at the end, you're like, what are you doing? But it's so long, but mine is more so now than right after our deployment. And I don't know if it's more because we have a kid now, so I feel like I got more to lose. Like there's more like things going on with that aspect, more anxiety when it comes to going out and being places because of that. Yeah. Where before it wasn't as bad for me.
So when we were in Missoula, there was things we got insanely used to stuff just blowing up. We would hear explosions all the time. Like it's just constantly we would hear it to the point of helicopters, different things where, and a lot of times just EOD blowing stuff up or doing whatever, but there was no really type of announcement that it would happen, and they would just blow it up.
Which is annoying.
Right. And so, but we really got used to it. And to the point of when we moved bases, and me and it was actually somebody else from the motor pool, we were moving a tent, like a big tent, and it was heavy, but we were picking the box up and moving the crate over to where we could get it onto a forklift. EOD blew something up, and we were in the middle of picking the box up, and we just continued to do it and put it down. And the other guy that was with us that was in charge of the motor pool at the time, not one of our people, it was a different person. He jumped and then looked at us and was like, why did you guys not react to that? Like, did you not? And we're like, oh, that was EOD. Like, that was for sure. Like, we heard it. They said they were going to do it like 20 minutes ago. Like, so we were good. And he was like, where did you guys come from? We just kind of laughed and we said, and he was like, oh, you guys are just used to that. And I laughed about it. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But the not funny one was, which I think I just told you about this recently. Not that I was ever trying to hide anything. I just don't think about that kind of stuff or say it. Yeah. It was right after we got back. And within a couple of months of us being home, I was with my nephew. And he was 5 or 6. Maybe
something like that. 5.
And I had him in my truck, and we were driving, and there's a dump, and at dump they do methane burn, so it was they burn the gas coming off the dump and everything, and if the pilot light goes out on it and they reset it, it'll actually let off, like that type of thing, just like gas light being lit or whatever. And I was driving, and I heard that reignite, and scared me half to death. And it was all just a thought of, this isn't supposed to happen here. Mm-hmm. This is like my nephew's with me. Like that he didn't sign up for this. This wasn't. Right. And it was just a complete to where I actually had to stop and pull off to the side of the road and had to get out of the truck for a second and was like, I don't want him to see me like this because I was going, this shouldn't be this way.
Right.
And that was that kind of stuff. But it's like, it's now when some of it happens, I go, man, I kind of feel silly. Like I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't be, and I think some of it is because I know there's people that went through so much worse than anything that I did. And so like when I get those types of feelings or whatever, I'm just like, man, and then I feel maybe a little not like insecure or like, I'll not say like powerless, but it's like I can't, like some of it, if I feel that way, like I go, oh man, like I shouldn't feel that way. I don't like feeling that way because I'm not, like I'm in control of the situation. This is not somebody doing something to me that I can't control or anything like that. And so then I'm, like I said, it's just, I usually just kind of feel silly about it. And the most recent one was these stupid little ducks at my work. Somebody left out these little ducks and I was like, but they were like these little ducks and they put them like all over the place. And I saw one and I was like, and immediately I was like, that's out of place. That shouldn't be there. And I was like, that's weird. And I was like, why is that there? And then I walked around the corner and there was another one, and I was like, I was like,
like triggered.
It was just that thought, and it was very quick and went through, but I was like, like why? And then I like I said, I just kind of felt silly because then I was like, why did I care about these little plastic ducks? And then I just started taking all of them. So I have like 20 ducks in my room.
I have all the ducks.
Holding
them for ransom.
You want to see your ducks again? Meet me at the ring. Yeah. You've probably been told this before. I mean, there's really no reason to feel silly about some of this stuff. I mean, and kind of to your point, you're saying that you sense more of this now than you did right afterwards. And I think because I'm the same way. Like it seems to affect me more now. But part of me started thinking, like, is it just that I was so in tune with it when I got back that it just didn't? It still seemed like normal. Like that was what it's supposed to be. But now I've been back so long, like it doesn't feel normal anymore. But I still do it. I don't know. I mean, I still do 5s and 25s at the gas station. I mean, like.
You do what?
5s and 25s. When you pull up someplace, you look 5 meters around you, and then, well, your gunner's supposed to be he's up top. He's supposed to look 25 meters around the vehicle. So you're looking for, so you don't step out on an ID or whatever. You don't step into a bad situation.
You do that?
Every freaking time.
I feel like I do that, but I also have done stuff like that before I was ever in the military. Like my dad was always like, "Where's your exit? Like you got it." And he was never in the military. I was like, I think he's just running for the cops. I think he was just trying to be like, "Where's the cops at? You gotta get out."
His was for different reasons.
So he was always looking for exits. So it's like a train thing. I'm like, where's my multiple ways out?
Secondary escape.
Right, yeah. So like I'm always looking for okay, if I go here, if I go there, if this is a weapon, but at the same time I'm like, okay, I could use this, I could do that. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to use it against the cops like my dad would. But just joking, he was bad guy.
The obstacles between me and my exit point.
Right, but it was like that before, but then joining the military was like, oh, to do that, that's just something that you were taught and things like that. So it kind of like went with it. And then having a child where it's more of like
protection,
I will protect you.
Yeah.
Twice.
Like they don't call me Mama Bear for no reason. Right. So it's like I got my shank.
Shank.
So I think it's like that, like progression of what's going on in my life. So right now it's more of like I have a child where I'm here to protect her, and so I'm going to use some things that maybe I grew up with trying to make sure that I was safe, to going into the military to ensure that I'm safe, to now having a child to ensure that she's safe. So I'm having like these little things, and I feel like having a child more gives you more anxiety, because now it's like before it's just me, or it's me and other people who are trained, and now it's like, if I'm going over this bridge, how do I get my child out of the vehicle? How do I do that?
Oh, totally. I think the mother's mind goes to crazy places. Mm-hmm. I used to think, I mean, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but just side note, I used to think like, okay, if somebody broke in the house, which one do I get to first? Which door which room do we get barricaded in? Like, your mind goes to crazy places when you have a kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we have those plans.
Right.
We've talked about it, so you're not crazy. Like
it feels crazy. Like, it feels like I'm the only one. I guess because we never really talked about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I have like other mothers say the same thing, and maybe like, like have a plan. You gotta have a plan.
Right.
Like Dallas, like can go and like get on an elevator, and he's like thinking about how am I going to
How am I
hurt these
gonna get
people? And
out,
I'm like,
right,
that's
yeah.
insane. That's crazy.
I'm like, what weapon can I use to hurt you? I'm like,
Well, like, it wasn't like in Captain America where he's doing
Yeah.
the Hail Hydra thing and he destroys everybody in the elevator. Like,
Yeah.
listen, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
All right, that's not just Captain America. That's all of us. We all get on the elevator and go.
Yeah.
I don't get on the elevator and do that.
You don't think so?
I will say this though.
You don't think, hey, I pin
like,
this guy against the wall, equip
not-
this guy with my
right.
freaking leg.
Not just putting this as like, oh, because I'm a woman, but because I'm a woman, there were things that I did even in my deployment to ensure my safety on base.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, okay.
things like that to ensure my safety as an outpost, because I was talking about earlier how I was the only female on an outpost in the middle of the city. That if things went south, my saving grace would have been running into the middle of Iraq. Like things I had to do as a woman to ensure my safety. So I'm like always ensuring safeties, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's just ingrained on top of everything else.
Okay.
So going into towards the end of the deployment, I mean, you guys got shit from Mosul to Talafar, which had to feel like someone turned the noise meter all the way down.
Yes.
I mean, because
So
Mosul was like chaos all the time. Like I said, every time I was there, it looked like a Cat 5 hurricane went through the day before.
yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, that was just how it was from day one. It was always like that.
So when we
Every time.
pull up day one, it was in the middle of the night.
In Mosul?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was in the middle of the night, and it's you're like, and I'm sitting there going,
Just
we're
day
in
one.
it. Well, I go,
Yeah.
we're in it now. I remember doing that, and I had the best sleep of my life. I'll tell you what, the best sleep of my life. I'm insane, I feel like, but I remember just the next day you're just hearing gunfire, and you're like, I'm like, this is it, we're here. And then
Right.
our platoon sergeant's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're right by the test fire pit. So every time you leave, you're at the test
Yeah.
fire. They didn't say anything the night
Yeah.
before,
So
we're
there
all
was
like,
nothing. It was just people going out
just
on
people
missions
going
and test
on
fire.
mission
Gosh.
testing their
Yeah.
weapons to make sure their
What?
weapon systems are fine. But we were close to it, and so you're just hearing da, 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 and then the helicopters are going, and I'm like, we're in it now. Let's get some sleep. You know?
And the thing is, in a test fire pit, they test fire everything. So if your squad is carrying
Like the
9
50
mils,
cal, yeah.
M4s, 50 cals, everything's short of a Mark 19. If
don't
you're
feel like
firing a
I
Mark
did that.
19,
Not with my M4 and my 9. It was usually
Yeah.
the big
we would fire
one, the turrets.
everything.
Really?
I mean, literally, we get.
I don't remember. if
I
we did or
dump.
did,
I
to
would
be
literally
honest.
dump half a round out of my 9mm just because I could.
No, I
Pop,
don't
pop, 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 pop. They're like, what the?
I don't remember if we did or
That
didn't.
is-
I don't think I.
I feel like it was
No,
more for
but I
our
also-
ones.
Yeah,
and
it's
turrets.
generally-
It's like,
You know, make sure
oh
your
man, I
headspace
gotta
and
clean
timing's
this
good.
if I do it. So that's what
Hey,
What?
I gotta clean this for the shoot. So I was like, I ain't doing that.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
I mean, at this point, I'm sure all of us, like, I could hear a 50 cal and probably to this day tell you if headspace and timing.
Not me.
You can't?
Well, I would hope not. That would not blow up if it wasn't right.
No, this
What?
doesn't continue.
Oh,
No, you can just
okay.
hear
I was
cut,
like, when you blow up-
like you can just feel that timing
So
is wrong.
that's the thing. People come to me like, "Oh, look at this new gun! I got look at this weapon with the dot dot dot," and I'm like,
Does it have bullets?
"I'm like, does it shoot?
Yeah.
Okay." Like, I have no idea. Don't ask me a question about anything. I'm just like, and they're like, yeah, I mean, the 2.3, the 7.7, and I'm like, yeah, rock on. Like, get 'em.
She's like, is that like a big gun?
Well,
Yeah.
is it
Like
big?
was a Michael Keaton on what was it, Motherhood? No, Parenthood. No. What's the one where he's like, they're like, what'd you shoot him with? A 38? 38, 39, whatever it takes to do the job.
Well, it's just like, they'll be like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, they gave me a gun. And they said, these little ones go in the little one. These bigger ones go in the bigger one. Got it.
That's awesome.
Hey, listen. I was talking in the interview yesterday. The guy interviewed yesterday, he's an FFL. He's a dealer in firearms and stuff. I call him my Kennesaw Georgia Victor boot. You know, I mean, the guy can get you just about anything. And I was like, listen, I'm not that guy that has a bunch of guns just cause. They all have a functionality purpose to them, really. Well, I think they all have a functionality purpose, but, you know, it's a shame I lost them all in a tragic boating accident in this lake over
the
here.
boating
But
accident.
there's some terrible boaters in
Lost
Florida.
all
I
of ours in a boating
really
accident.
should not have put my stuff on your boat that day.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I apologize.
Yeah.
You know, we had bananas on the boat. Boom, bad accident. That's a real thing. But yeah, I mean, like, there's people who
I left the door open.
know 10 times more about guns than I do. And I don't really care. I like, whatever. I mean, I'm really good at taking the rounds out of this one and putting it through the target down there. That's what I need to be good at.
Yeah.
I don't need to be able to tell you it's a 1/7 twist. I don't care.
Right.
Like, if it doesn't twist at all, I don't care. Did it hit
like
the
ice
target?
cream. I'm like, oh, a twist?
Oh, heck yeah, we can twist that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I'm all about that one.
But I just think, like, I know so much about it, or I'm so into it. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but I'm not like this, like, guru. I'm like, they gave me what I was supposed to use, and that's what I use, and that's what I know. But if it's anything outside of that, and I'm so far removed from it at this point that I don't really know. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we've been in.
I mean, you might be the exception here, but I don't know about you. If someone said, hey, look, man, I know you used to mess with these a lot. Can you take apart this Mark 19 for me? No.
I don't think after.
I can flip the tray open. I can drop some rounds in. I can close the tray, and I had the sequence memorized to shoot it because there's a sequence of that.
Yes.
Again, refer back to the previous interview with me. However, I have no idea. Like taking that thing apart, taking the 240. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like if I owned one, okay, I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it'd be different. Yeah.
But there's a stupid thing called the ATF, and they prevent me from being able to own one. That and the fact that they cost $30,000. Other than that, I would own one. You see, my cohort is she stepped away for a second, but she'll be right back.
Yeah.
Any other stories from that you're okay with sharing that might be kind of cool, kind of like before we move on from the deployment? Like I remember, it's not really necessarily a story worthy. I remember your last cop. That was
So
that was like what 12 people there. I'm like, God, there's like
that cop. That was the big cop. So
really, it seemed like there's nobody there. I'm like, what the?
So the small cop was supposedly we were the first Army Reserve military police to run a 24-hour outpost. So it was squad level usually. At one point there was 9 of us there. So there was 9 of us plus an interpreter at this outpost. And then the most I think we had maybe was 30, 35, like the whole platoon there at one point. But it was never more than the platoon. Then the second cop we went to, which was in Talifar, that area.
At the border.
Right, so we were at the Syrian border because we did such a fantastic job at our first cop. The Marines were there for a punishment, and then we did such a great job, we got to go there. Because we did so good.
Dallas talked about how good the military is about giving presents.
Yeah, we were blessed and highly favored.
Let's be honest. If it's a place where the Marines are being punished for something, it can't be good.
That's the story, that they were being punished, and so that's what we got blessed with. It was pretty much because we were outpost, but honestly, it was at that time the female second platoon sergeant she had hurt her ankle and she wasn't on a mission, and I think the only other female E5 and above was myself and another one in third platoon. Anyone else who was in a team leader position was an E4 or a corporal. They put it into an E4 position. So they wanted an E5 female because this is actually more of a female mission, because at the border we had to do the searches for the female or watch the females.
Isn't that great?
Searches. I know.
Oh gosh.
But because we had already did one, so the guys would be like, "This is your fault," because we already did one. They're like, "We'll just send first platoon," and they have E5, and they have some of the most females. They have 2 in first squad, 2 in second squad, and 1 in third squad, and then we could just add in the medic went with me. So the medic and I were the ones pulling the female stuff when I went out, and then the other ones would go out. So the guys would be like, "You're the reason why we're here. Why are you doing this to us?" But that was the bigger one. There was about 180 people with 5 females as compared to 175 males. But that was the bigger one. So we actually had people who did laundry there, people who worked on our vehicles, versus the first one was so small we couldn't park our vehicles inside. We had to leave it out in the IP station, so whenever we'd come out, we'd have to search our vehicles.
No way.
Yeah, so we had no control over our vehicles. I made sure they were locked out. They were in that rack. Like, they were in there.
You start your day with the pucker factor going on there.
But the thing is, like, it's like your job. You get so used to it. It's your day to day that, like, we had to take our trash to the trash at the IP station, and this is in Missoula in, like, the hot time where they weren't going to put them part of the agreement to, like, give control back over. They were going to be like, except for Missoula. Like, all of Iraq can do this except for this place. And we're like, we don't need our vests. We're just dropping off our trash. Like, don't tell the higher ups.
But it's always that one time.
Yeah, but it's just, it's not my problem no more if it's that one time. Not my problem, it's theirs now.
How was the food situation over there? Because do I remember you telling a story about how, like, you didn't have food? Or, like, you had molded bread? Or
No, we had MREs for 4 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So when we moved to the small cop, I call it the small one because it's 2 of them. So the smaller one is the people who were leaving took their food with them because they were going to another one. So all we had, they were like, but you can't eat anything else that we leave because we're coming back for it. So they gave us MREs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 4 days. So the cop wasn't set up. So that's where there was a handful of us there. We all stayed in one room. The guys, like, I had a shower, so 2 guys were outside while I would shower. And then, so, like, we had to coordinate when I was able to shower and stuff like that. Using the bathroom, it's like, whatever, we're using the bathroom, it's the bathroom. So it's like that's how it was. But then, like, we were so tired. And Maria's were like, listen, if they yell at us, because they had a little bit of freeze-dried shrimp in there. And we're like, we are so hungry at this point. Like, we are so tired of MREs. And there's shrimp right there. So I remember they had made, like, a fire on, like, this little pit. They made a fire. And they put the shrimp on it. And I hadn't eaten shrimp 3 years because I had food poisoning from it 3 years prior. And I was like, I am so tired of MREs. And I know other people have had MREs for, like, their entire service, so I have nothing to do, but I'm like, there's shrimp right there, how can we not eat it?
What were you supposed to do?
What were we supposed to do? And then they had a shrimp, I was like, this is the best shrimp of my life.
Well, like,
But, yeah.
she didn't eat shrimp when we first met her, right? Because I was pre-deployment, so...
I don't remember.
It may have been right at the
around that time.
because I had food poisoning. I was like, never again.
So there's certain things where I can't.
That I had shrimp again though, so it got me over my little fear, and it was pretty good shrimp. But
Good job, Army.
We had food, but they made you cook, so we all had our own little times when we were supposed to cook. And if you know me, I did not cook very well at that time, and so my driver found me in the corner going, I don't know what to do. I was so bad with it. He's like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, I don't know. What do we make them? Because we each had our own times being the cooks, but one of my gunner was originally a cook, and then he reclassed to being an MP.
Cookie?
So yeah, we call him Princess. He loved it.
Princess, oh my
he
god!
loves because we had the country boy, and then we had him. There was it was a fun dynamic there. Yeah. But and then you had me, and I was like, "Where are the outcasts?"
It was the solid mix between the 2 of them.
Yeah.
It was for real.
Yeah, it's like you had all the guys, and then you had my team were all like, hey, I felt really bad for my driver, like, you're stuck with us. The outcast of the groups, but...
Dallas ate good when he was over there.
No, at the Fox, they had some good food, they had great...
I got a funny story.
At the...
I got a funny story. I'm sorry. You're talking about food, I got a story.
Shrimp and lobster and...
So, one of the kind of neat things that would happen is they would have... I can't remember what they called them, but they would have people come from surf and turf, yeah, but people come from different countries
or country nationals,
but come to work for us. So they have some type of law enforcement or military background, and they were there to teach or help the. I can't remember what they called them. Not IPA. Doesn't matter.
I think that's a beer.
Yeah. I was like, I think that's for skull behavior.
Yeah. So we had a couple of different ones. I had. So we had
the Irish.
So we had some Irish guys that would go out with us, and we would take them out to an Iraqi army station that was right down the street from ours. And then we also had an investigation unit that was a part of our police station that we would go to. And that guy was from Alabama or something like that. So he came out with us pretty regular because we went. But the Irish guys, they were fun to talk to and stuff like that. Just, I guess, the Irish accent and whatever.
They sound like leprechauns?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
as we were going down, it was April Fool's Day. It was coming up.
Okay.
Right?
Oh boy.
And so Lauren is half Irish, half Italian.
Okay.
And so I know the Irish side, right? I know the name and everything. So I was like, hey, do you want to help me play a joke on my wife?